We got rankings updates to talk about. There are 4 new 5-stars that have been added to the 2026 class, and I got Director of Scouting and Ranking, Charles Power, here with me to break it all down. I'm also going to ask Charles if there's a sleeper that could end up finishing number 1 overall before it's all done. But first, guys, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the Rivals Recruits channel. Look at this. We're almost to 100K. Jump on board. Hit subscribe. All right, so as it currently stands, there are 16 5-stars. Before the cycle's over, we will have 32. And right now, we added 4 new ones that we're going to talk about in this video. Grayson McHugh, offensive tackle, committed to Notre Dame. Auburn wide receiver commitment, Jace Matthews. Richard Wesley, an edge, committed to Texas. And then Khary Wilder, an Ohio State defensive line commitment. So let's start in the trenches. We'll start at offensive tackle, Charles Power. Grayson McHugh, why should Notre Dame fans be fired up about this one?
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody's recruiting offensive line better than Notre Dame over the past couple cycles, and Grayson McHugh fits the mold of what we've seen from a successful offensive tackle at Notre Dame. This is a tall, big-framed, developmental offensive tackle, a guy who's put on probably 40 pounds of good weight over the past year, and we've seen him play at a high level as a senior early on. He's holding that weight, moving well, showing encouraging play strength and finishing ability. So I think the arrow is pointing up on Grayson McHugh. He was our highest 4-star going into this ranking, so it was really, we kind of wanted to see his first couple games of his senior year, and based off what we saw on film, I think there's definitely reason for the Notre Dame fans to be excited about adding him to what is a very deep offensive tackle group on campus.
All right, Mississippi is deep with wide receiver talent, and Jace Matthews is the latest 5-star minted wide receiver out of that state. What's up with Jace Matthews and his 5th star?
Yeah, Jace Matthews, Auburn is adding one of the more skilled pass catchers in the cycle, in our opinion. He has a very well-rounded skill set. This is a guy who has good size. He's 6'1.5", 195, long arms, big catch radius. He's a plus route runner. He's a guy you can really do, you put him at any spot in the formation, and he can create separation, win at the catch point. So there's a lot he can do. Kind of a movable, versatile chess piece at receiver. I think when you look at Auburn, adding him to what is one of the deeper, more talented receiving rooms in the SEC. I mean, Hugh Freeze has really built up the receiver room. You think of guys like Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons. Adding Jace Matthews to that mix is going to give Auburn one of the better receiving cores in the SEC from a pure talent perspective. So he's a guy who I think we feel really good about, just the skill set and kind of everything he can do, because there's not really a lot of holes in his game.
All right, up next is a one-time Oregon commitment. Flipped his commitment to Texas during the summer. Things have cooled down, kind of quieted in his recruitment. He seems locked in with the Longhorns. I'm talking about edge Richard Wesley, and he is now a 5-star.
Yeah, Sark has done a great job at recruiting edge at Texas in his time there. They have Colin Simmons, former 5-star, Lance Jackson, former 5-star, Richard Wesley's next in line. This is a guy who reclassified, and you would not know that watching his senior film. He is ready to go. He's physically built. He is highly technical, great polish. I mean, he's making plays really on both sides of the ball. He's even playing a little running back for his high school, Sierra Canyon, as they're blowing out opponents. And so he's looked really good. Is a guy who's continued to get better. And it's not all the time we see these reclassifications kind of rise in the rankings, but Richard Wesley, I think, has shown that it's deserved, and he's the next 5-star in what is a really strong edge group nationally.
All right, the 4th player in the 5-star update is Khary Wilder, defensive lineman committed to Ohio State.
Khary Wilder has really exploded as a senior, and this is something that we thought may happen based off of his dominant camp performance at Rivals 5-star back in June. And we've seen him really springboard, the first month of the season. He has been dominant, making a ton of plays behind the line of scrimmage. This is a guy who plays with great effort, first step quickness. He's strong, and I think he can really move anywhere along the defensive line. I wouldn't be shocked if he kind of starts off as a big defensive end at Ohio State, and then they'll get him in the strength program and kind of see as his body develops, because he's around 6'4", 255 right now. So this is a guy who could potentially maybe be a 280, 290, 300 pounder, in a couple years. But I mean, he is super disruptive, and there may not be a more dominant defensive player on the West Coast than Khary Wilder so far.
All right, those are the new 5-stars. Now I want to talk about a new number 1 at the quarterback position. It was Texas commitment Diabell. It is now Jared Curtis, who is committed to Georgia. Charles, why should Dog fans be so excited about Jared Curtis? Let's talk game time. All of a sudden, the college and NFL seasons are upon us, but guess what? We need our tickets, and getting deals on last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want is to be there for the moment your team runs out onto the field. And the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets, experiences, and it only takes a few taps. The app's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee, it means you can trust that you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. So, what you see is what you pay. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's super simple, and it makes the experience of buying great seats a breeze. I've even seen NFL tickets on there as low as $100. So Game Time makes it easy to find and buy NFL tickets and tickets for every kind of event in your area. Also, the Game Time lowest price guarantee. It's where Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference to guarantee you're getting the lowest price. All right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code INSIDESCOOP. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's INSIDESCOOP for 20% off.
Yeah, I think Georgia's adding the top arm talent in the 2026 cycle in Jared Curtis. This is a guy who I think his arm stacks up with anybody. He can drive the ball to all levels, can change the arm slot, ton of juice on his passes. But what's really been encouraging to me watching him, through his senior year, early on in his senior year, hyper competitive, tough. He's a guy who's a playmaker, really kind of has a backyard improvisational streak to his game that I think, when the play breaks down and the call doesn't work, Jared Curtis can make something out of nothing, and this is a guy who has a lot of that kind of ability. And we saw that in a huge game early on in his senior year when he beat a team that was favored by 3 touchdowns. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to be excited about with Jared Curtis, and he's a guy who I think is going to bring a lot of natural physical talent to Georgia's quarterback room. And
he is a winner most of all. All right, now that leads me to the race for number 1. Currently, as it stands, it's Jackson Cantwell is the number 1 overall player for Rivals. Jared Curtis is sitting in there at number 2. And then you have edge Carter Meadows at number 3, who's committed to Michigan. And, he's been having a great start to his senior year. Charles, is there any chance that we could see Carter Meadows finish number 1? And that would be incredible considering Michigan signed the number 1 overall last year, too, in Bryce Underwood.
I think it's certainly possible, Josh. If Carter Meadows continues to play at what we've seen from him through his first 3 games, he can make a strong push for the number 1 overall prospect. It's a wide open race, but I think when you look at Carter Meadows, he was a guy that we ranked as a 5-star based off of the physical traits. I mean, he has freaky just tools and dimensions. He's 6'6", 235. He's got the longest arms of any of the top edge prospects, can really bend and flexible, just a great athlete, AAU basketball player. But going into his senior year, we wanted to see him kind of put it together consistently, on Friday nights. And he's done that so far. He's really looked dominant. It's kind of like he's like flipped the switch. You've kind of seen, him realize I'm the most dominant player on the field. I'm the most physically gifted guy out here. And he's playing to that caliber. So if he can stack, these type of games consistently, in what is a very strong edge cycle at the position, I think Carter Meadows can make a strong push.
Yeah, Michigan fans got to love hearing that. All right, guys, everybody, let's hear it from you guys. Who do you think should finish number 1? Should it be Jackson Cantwell? Should it be Jared Curtis? Should it be Carter Meadows? Or is there somebody that we're not talking about that you think should be in the race for number 1? Let us know. Comment section below.